Hi, this is Brian Whitaker at Wits End Ranch. And for my second podcast, which come to find out it really isn't a podcast, but maybe that's a subject for some other time, I am going to actually be reading my blog. I have a blog on my website. Um, I haven't really updated it too much until recently. I do enjoy writing, as it were. And so the thought occurred to me after listening to, I'm an avid listener of books. I like to read a little bit, but I really like to listen to things while I'm out, doing whatever, especially as a segue, talking about my subject, about sitting in the tractor and listening to a podcast as I was moving snow. So, this podcast, the, I am going to read my blog on Signs of Spring on March 28th, 2024. There can be many signs of spring here in the upper Midwest and the Great North. One of them is snow. We have not had a typical winter here at all. We have broken many records for warmth and had very little snow. We did have rain around Christmas. No white Christmas here, but it was wet and cold. Now that spring is here, so is winter and snow. It feels like winter now with cold conditions and the sleet, rain, snow. This is not so unusual this time of year. It is strange after the, quote, non-winter, quote, we had, or not had. Late snow's an adjustment, or an improvise, especially when having animals on the ranch. This was a good winter to unroll hay out in the pasture for the animals to eat the hay. They actually are, quote, grazing the hay. It is like having a 5-foot wide and a 700 plus foot feeder for the animals, the safest feeder I can find. The animals graze and deposit the manure right out in the pasture. Those areas that I feed this way always green up sooner. The first year I enrolled hay was on ground that was used for corn the previous growing season. When the weather warmed up, there were areas you could see exactly where I unrolled the hay. It was thick, green, and lush. Some spots were thick with clover. The animals were fed outside with room and sunshine. In turn, they seeded and fertilized for me, all in one pass with a lighter tractor and a simple bale unroller. Another sure and very welcome sign of spring is chicks. We bought 14 soon-to-be egg-layer chicks. We have several different breeds, which will eventually produce green, bluish, and brown eggs. So far, the chicks are thriving. They are so entertaining to watch, and their growth is amazing after a week. They act like little hens already pecking at the hay I put out in them to scratch through, and for our entertainment. If you follow me on social media, you might have seen my live video of them, sharing the fun. The calendar says spring, but outside winter is still showing its mighty strength. When I heard the first robin in February, I was cautiously optimistic about an early spring. One thing I have learned about life here on the ranch is nature always wins. I try to find ways to work with it and not against it. The cows calving in May is one way to work with it and not be so stressed about the late, normal snow. Keep your hindquarters to the wind, Brian.